when Paul called and asked me to substitute for him today, I was pleased that he did. And a couple months ago, I had made a list of possible sermons. I have them in my computer called emergency sermons. So that if Paul gets sick on Saturday night or even Sunday morning, I've already had something prepared. I did not go to my list when he called this time, because I had already fantasized about what I was going to talk about the next time I was going to be here. And of course it is about chanting. Now, I've never given a sermon on chanting in my entire life. I've led some classes in chanting, but never a sermon. So this is Chanting 101 introductory course only, just to give you a little feel for it, not to go off in some wonderful way and be detailed about it. Chanting is a form of prayer. It is not a form of monotony. It's a form of self-love. It's a form of getting out of our mind, out of our thinking mind, our intellectual mind, our scholarly mind, and all that kind of mind. And that's one of the reasons why I was so resistant to it when I was younger. Now, I did get a taste of it because my parents were involved in a church that had Mexicans and black people, and the music was all black. So I was raised on that black gospel music, and as you know, many times they have a complicated verse, and then the chorus is sung over and over and over and over and over again. And if you understand that it is not just singing to be singing, but it is singing to pray, then it makes total sense and becomes very, very personal. Every once in a while, I would go down to Big Sur to the monastery, Catholic monastery, which unfortunately now is cut off because of the bridge. But I understand they had a fundraiser because they have to exist, and they raised a lot of money, hopefully enough, until the bridge is back. Anyway, I'd go there to finish some writing project usually. One time I went, and the monk who was in charge said, I understand you are a Presbyterian pastor. And I said, yes, that's true. And he says, well, one of the brothers is away because he has a family crisis, and his rooms are available. Would you like to be in there rather than in the other place? The other places are kind of Motel 6 kind of places. You know what I mean? They're very stark. So I said, well, of course. So, he brings me in there. And there are two large rooms. There's a living room, and then there is a little chapel, which is the same size as the living room. And then there is a little bitty tiny bedroom and a little kitchenette kind of thing with a hot plate, maybe make tea or coffee, something of that sort. The meals are all done collectively. Now, no one ever talked to me while I was there, but I would go outside, and there's a long corridor, and if there were monks there, they'd wave. No talking. But I would go in to their chanting, and they chanted the Psalms. That's all they chant in that particular group. That's all they do. And I never heard Psalms sung in a chant form before, but it was very interesting. The most elaborate chanting that ever happened that I was present for was Linda and I were in Istanbul. And she went to the big, what do you call it?
Temple?
Bazaar, yeah, the bazaar. She goes into the bazaar, and we're to meet at a particular time and place, and so I wander in, and she's in a pot shop. A pot like flowers. And she has told the proprietor about what I do for a living, and he was studying to be a priest in the Islam tradition. And he invites us to a service that night. And so he writes all the instructions down. He says, now we start at 6:30 with dinner, and then it goes until late. Well, it was really late. We got back to the hotel at 2 a.m. So we're escorted in, and Linda is seated beside me in the men's section. And I say to the main man, I said, you know, I realize that my wife is not supposed to be here. She'd be happy to go and be with the women. No. He says, and then he says something that was just magical. He said, in our tradition, the stranger can do no harm. Isn't that it? So you can make a big mistake that's totally against their religion, but because you are a stranger, it is instantly forgiven. So here is Linda, right here by the stage, and with 200 or 250 men, all dressed in white shirts. It was amazing. So they chant for about 45 minutes, singing songs of various sorts, and then take a break, and they light up cigarettes. They have little cups of tea, you know, it's almost like syrup, it's so thick, and chocolate. And they take about a 10 or 15 minute break. They do 45 more minutes, then do that again. And this goes on. And during one of these breaks, Linda says to the men, you know, while we're here, we would like to see the Sufis. And he said, next time we take a break, we'll see them. So now, they escort us into another room and they put us on chairs. Remember we had big chairs here for a while? They were like throne chairs. Oh, there, yeah. Well, we were put on the stage in chairs. We were the only two people who were in that room. Now, all the men, they're in another room, and now they are chanting. And I don't know what they're chanting, but they're chanting. And now here come the whirling dervishes. There are 5 or 6 of them. And there's one person who stands, and he's responsible for making sure they don't bump into one another, or they don't bump into the wall, because they have their eyes closed and they're turning, and so they're getting dizzy. And they have one hand up to God in heaven, and one hand down to earth. And what they are doing, they're channeling healing energy from God to all the world. That's what that whole thing is all about. And it went on, and now we get into the place where we were with all the men, and they have become something other. They are in a chant. They're in a trance. It's absolutely amazing. It's totally different than when we were in there. And I don't even know how long it went on, but it was the greatest chanting experience I've ever experienced. I wanted to pass it on to you. Chanting is not something that only religions do. There are cultural chants as well, and I think you might recognize this one. That's not it. Our chanting has been momentarily put on pause. Here we go. We will rock you. Sing. We will rock you. Everybody, we will rock you. We will rock you. And I heard one of the guys interviewed, and he said they didn't write this for sports events. You know, sports events just picked it up, and it's kind of an aggressive kind of chant. But and there are a lot of chants, and now hopefully this sermon will raise your awareness, so when you're listening to commercials and other things, you realize that some of them are chants, and that's how they get in there. There are 2 kinds of chants that I really dislike. One is what I call 747s. They are songs that have 7 words repeated 47 times. And I say to myself while I'm listening to them, how did this ever get recorded? I mean, this is not, this isn't showing talent. It's something else. And the other chant that I don't like is the one that go on inside my head. a song that repeats itself endlessly, or a commercial song, and I do know how to get that to stop. And that is, I have to go and find a good piece of music and play it loud and get it going in my head. And then I get rid of the one that I don't like. So that's that. The next one that we're going to listen to is Om Namah Shivaya. Now, I was first introduced to this by Arundhati. She took me over to Oakland to Muktananda Center, and they have a room where this chant has been played for years and years and years and years. She took me over there probably in about the 1980, and it had been playing at that time for years and years. So when you go to the room, you are to be silent. You are not even to hum along with the chant. You do it all in your head and you remain silent. And spending a half hour in that room is a life-changing experience. And this goes on for 35 minutes, but we'll not go that long today. Oh, wait. I want to say what it is. The Om, of course, is the sound that many people say is the sound of existence existing, or maybe God existing. That whole Om. Namah is translated to bow, as I bow to that. And the Shivaya is Shiva. Shiva is one of the primary gods of the Hindu tradition. And one of the things that Shiva does is it destroys things when their usefulness is up. So if a person lives to be 100 and they die, Shiva has come and gathered them to take them back home. And if you see stars colliding and whatever, that's what Shiva does. And so but the great thing about Shiva and all of those gods is they don't live out there in the universe, they live here. So they are accessible only by going within. And that's where you hear them and that's where you feel them. Okay. If Arundhati had her way, that would have been the whole memorial service. Nobody would have said a word, just come and spend 45 minutes listening. I would love a service like that. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Every Day is a Day of Thanksgiving is a song that we heard when we went to Glide Memorial. And their ensemble did it, and they made a recording of it, and we have it. And as you know, Paul and I and some other people taught a class here about preparing for our own death, writing our obituary, and planning our memorial service. And so a lot of people have done that, and if you haven't, please do it and give it to Paul, and they'll put it in a file so that your service will be what you want it to be. But this has become a theme song for Linda, my wife. Every day is a day of Thanksgiving. And she has it integrated so much that it is her part of it is her primary password when using one password. You know the program One Password, to get one password that's complicated, and you never use any other. Again, it works its magic and somehow connects with all your stuff. I don't know how it works, but anyway. So every day is a day of Thanksgiving. We're going to listen to just a little bit of this. This is Black Gospel style. Gratitude journal, I encourage you to start one. It's just a list of words, things that you're grateful for. This next one is from the American Indian tradition, and you'll recognize it right away. Many years ago, I came across an Indian powwow. They were meeting on a football field at high school. And so I stopped and went in, and they were doing certain chants. And when they stopped, I said to one of the men, I said, what are those words? I'd like to know the English version of those words. Oh, he says, that's not what it is. He said, they are sounds that we make out of emotion, and then the Great Spirit interprets them. And that amazing? Wonderful. So groaning or laughing, all of those, every words. This next one is from the Buddhist tradition. Now, in the Hindu tradition, most of their chanting are the names of God. And I think somebody told me that there are a couple thousand of them. I don't know how many there actually are. But in the Buddhist tradition, they do not believe in a single God. They believe in a godhood, a sense of being God-like, to which we all must return. That's the basic idea. And we are here because we have not yet earned our PhD degree. And when we earn our PhD degree, we will then ascend for the last time. And I don't know what we'll do then. We'll probably be pretty energetic and creative, and we'll find out later. So Don, please play a little bit of this one. A few months back, we had the Oracle of Tibet here, Sunny Whedon brought him, and they did a little of this chanting here. And I would like to know what those words are as well. This next one is by Krishna Das. Krishna Das makes a joke of his heritage. He says, my parents are Jewish. And he talks about the fact that he, as a Jewish kid, went to India to learn how to be a Hindu. And what his guru told him eventually was, he says, you know, you need to go back to America and do the chanting there because they need it. And he was very disappointed because he thought he was going to spend his whole life at the feet of his guru, but it didn't work out. So in this particular thing, he says something or sings something, and then the congregation responds. And it goes on and on and on. First time Lynn and I went, we went with Bob and Sunny Whedon, and we sat by the door in case we didn't like it. And we were just going to slip out the back door. 2.5 hours later, we were sad that it stopped.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
This particular song goes on for about 15 minutes, so you can imagine we get into that. Now, for the last one, the words to this are in the bulletin. And his longtime son. And this woman has one of the purest voices that's ever been created. And she is a tiny, tiny woman, probably weighs 85 pounds. And she's really, really pretty. And she is a Sufi monk, a Sufi nun. And if I was going to have a memorial service for myself, I would play this for 30 minutes. And that's all. And then everybody just walk out the door and go downstairs. And what I'm encouraging you to do is to not listen to it so much as pretend that it's happening to you. For example, may the long-time sun shine upon you. And just visualize yourself, being in that. All love surround you. That would be a new trick. All love surround you. I mean, who's ever had that? And the pure light within. That's what we're talking about. Now, this, by the way, is a Celtic blessing. It's not Hindu or Buddhist or anything else, but it's been picked up by them, and nowadays they sing it as it is their own. We're going to listen to it right now. And please allow it to happen to you.
Surround you.
So that'd be my 30-minute memorial service. That'd be great. This is time for response. Anybody say?